the Nashville 2 podcast with your host, Edward Fox.
G'day, viewers and listeners. It's Ed Fox back with another great episode of Nashville 2. And you know what makes Nashville 2 great episodes? Is great guests. And today my guest is Eli Alger of Eli Alger and the Faster Horses. I have it over here on the other screen, so I wanted to make sure I got that right. Eli, welcome to the show.
Hey, thank you for having me.
I'm excited. We met through a networking group, and I know you guys have been on tour like all November, and you've carved out a couple of minutes to do the show, which I appreciate.
Yeah,
So,
I'm glad to be here.
So my first question is, born and raised in Middle Tennessee or not?
No, I'm Des Moines, Iowa boy. So
Okay.
Midwest.
Okay, well, I've got 30 years in Wichita, Kansas. Went up to Des Moines all the time.
Very cool.
Yeah, okay, I know Des Moines. How'd you get to Nashville?
Well,
a guitar.
yeah, exactly. Well, my folks told me I had to go to college. I went to the University of Iowa for a finance degree, and they also told me I had to pay for half of it, and so I paid for my half of college playing gigs on the weekends.
Oh,
And
nice.
yeah, so that's kind of how I got the bug. I wanted to move to Nashville right out of high school, but I'm glad I ended up going to school first and then coming down. And then I graduated right into the spring of 2020, so the year of the plague. And I say as a joke, it took a finance degree and a plague to make country music the call. So that's when we moved to Nashville.
Well, there you go. And so, I know what I like when it comes to music. My dad was old school music, Marty Robbins, that sort of stuff, Johnny Cash, all those guys. And we had some Australian artists as well. Grew up in Australia, but I say Australian by birth, American by choice. My viewers and listeners have heard that like 4 million times if they've heard it once. But what type of country appeals to you, and what type of is that the same type of country that you play?
Yeah, so I say we play both kinds of music, country and western. I'm a big 90s country guy. So George Strait, Garth Brooks, Alan Jackson, Toby Keith, not only in their writing styles, but the way they arrange things. There's a lot of really masterful music in that late 80s through the 90s style of music where, you had to know the song pretty well to be able to nail it like how those guys were nailing it. And I've always really appreciated that in the depth and earth they had in their songwriting. And they kind of had different elements. There's a lot of high energy and a lot of emotion that wasn't exactly rock and roll. It wasn't exactly that traditional Marty Robbins country. It was kind of its own vein. They're rocking out to a cowboy song or something like that.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. Real identifiable.
Right. Yeah. And I was a big Garth Brooks fan back in the day. Some of that stuff, we'd never heard anything like it, right? When it first started coming out. So what about the business of what you do? That must be a hard slog. I mean, it's not all top level stuff. As you're building up your career, I'm sure you've played some less than optimal gigs, I would say, in the day.
I mean, I started playing at pizza parlors for free pizza if I was any good.
So you barded a long time ago.
Yeah, I mean, that's how everybody starts.
Right.
I'd say 99% of us, at least, you got to get your feet wet and cut your teeth and figure out how to work a crowd and what works and what doesn't, what you're good at, find your sound. And then you got to make a little bit of money here and there too. And so you kind of do that doing your bar gigs, at least to start out. We've been doing a lot of county fairs and stuff lately. That's kind of how our tour has been going, opening for national acts and doing stuff like that. We've built it to that point. But yeah, I mean, I could go on all day about the, my days consist of, you got to be the artist, the songwriter, creating the show, building the show, rehearsing, getting all the material down, working on your voice. And you also have to do the business side. If we got to get to Salt Lake City, I got to figure out how we're getting 6 guys to Salt Lake City. We got to build the equipment. We got to make sure all the lodging's taken care of, all the logistics. It's a whole pie.
So it's a very entrepreneurial experience, because that's
very much so.
Those of us that are entrepreneurs are doing that all the time. Not only do we have to run the business, but we have to do the business, whatever that business, if we are the product, in your case.
Especially if you're the product.
Right.
So.
Exactly. And that's
I
why
can't sell something that's not any good. So it's like, how do you divide the time between selling the product and making the product, being the product? Yeah.
My dad was always frustrated as a contractor because he was either out selling the job or he was doing the job. But whichever he was doing the most, the other one suffered, right? So if he's selling the job, then doing the job suffers because he's spending more, so it's like, I call it that like accordion effect. You don't know where the bottleneck's going to be, where it's going to be squished and where it's going to be expanded, and just making it all fit. It must be a huge challenge. Did you grow up in an entrepreneurial family? Was that something that you saw?
I did. And before it leaves my mind, on what you just said, I kind of have a saying of, you got to work your butt off to get the work. Right? If you were to put it in a nutshell, it's, we're going out and we're trying to book these gigs. We're going to these different stuff to get people to hire us. Right. And that's a whole scheme in itself. It's a whole job in itself just to get the work. So, but yeah, I do. I come from an entrepreneurial family. My grandfather on my mom's side built his business from the ground up when he started when he was my age. I'm 26, and he still runs it to this day. Paper Systems Incorporated out of Des Moines, Iowa. So it started in his basement, and he's got 2 warehouses now. So for me, he's the epitome of the American dream. My pops, and then I come from kind of a weird family. I've got that on my mom's side, and then my old man, my dad was he was a world champion wrestler. So yeah, he's one of the coaches on the world team right now. So there's always been a level of independency. I've always seen that, and then there's been a level of crazy because of my dad. It was you got to be nuts to be able to do that. You know what I mean? Yeah. To be that level of an athlete. So it's not required, but it helps. Yeah. There's definitely been a level of intensity that has been ingrained into me, focus.
So let me ask you this. So what do you feel like is the biggest challenge that you faced in starting to build this career to where it's at? And obviously it's not where you want it yet, but it's on the way. So what's been your biggest challenge that you faced along the way?
Definitely, probably the financials of it all. It's a pay to play sport. Music is. There's, can we afford to go to the CRS radio conference this year? We've got to get ourselves to these different conferences and stuff like that. Can we fix the bus, etc. The right gear and stuff like that to be able to put on these shows. You gotta make a music video, dude. Music video can run $50,000.
Wow.
It's crazy. I mean, if you look at the big dogs like Luke Combs, what he did When It Rains It Pours, $250,000 music video.
Right.
Where do you come up with that? So that's probably, if you look at the history of almost every single artist across any genre, somewhere along the way, they had somebody that invested in them, or they got a record deal that was like, here's, we believe that you have what it takes and have the initial base to be able to make this thing happen and make it monetizable. Here's the initial investment, you know? And I think that's not uncommon across a lot of things. If you want to be a huge contractor and build airports, you're going to need a couple bulldozers, man. They don't hand those deals out. You got to go get a bulldozer. So
it's funny. I was just talking to my son last night, and he's like, Dad, it's so frustrating. People want to do their thing, but everybody has to monetize everything that they do. I said, well, son, even your starving artists that are now your famous painters didn't have any money, but they had a patron that looked after them or took care of them, or they just kept painting until they died, right? And then everybody said, oh, these are pretty good. Like, this is worth some money, but everybody has had somebody that has helped them out along the way. And, I get people sometimes on different podcasts I listen to, and they go, I'm a self-made man or woman. I'm sorry, but you're never self-made. There has always been somebody that's helped you along the way, whether it be advice, whether it be money, whether it be right place, right time. What do you think about that? Do you think it's all hard work, or do you think it's luck?
Well, luck is the oh, don't quote me on this. I just heard this the other day. It is the combination of preparation and opportunity when they meet.
That's true.
So you got to be ready to go. If I'm not ready and I'm not on my A game and have those great songs in my back pocket, and for some reason I'm out in Nashville somewhere, and I'm, for some odd reason, Lee Bryce decided to walk into the bar, and I've got my shot to talk him into hearing me out. If I'm not ready for that, then is that luck that he walked in, or did I just shoot myself in the foot? You got to be ready to go. So that's where preparation comes in, and being ready for the opportunity.
So you would say it's a combination of hard work and opportunity.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. You have to work hard to get to the point where you can capitalize on that opportunity.
Right. I think there's times that, I've heard it in sales all the time. If you get on the elevator and your ideal prospect that you've never been able to get to respond to an email or a phone call or nothing is right there. Right. You've got about 8 seconds. You're going to shoot him with all the bullets and hit him over the head with the gun until, because it's the last chance you got. Now, if you're going to see this guy every day, like you work in the same office or you in the same group, networking group, then you can take your time. But if you're never going to see this guy again, you just got to be ready to go. So
yeah,
that's, I think that's key. And I think a lot of times people don't realize that. And I think coming to Nashville is one of the best networking cities I've ever lived in. Right.
Yeah.
A lot of cities say they're really good at networking, but it's like my wife said the other day, yesterday, actually, she's a pharmacy manager for Kroger. She had a customer come in and say, "Oh, are you such and such sister?" And my wife's like, how do you even know who I am? I don't even have the same last name. And he lives up north and I live down south. Like, she goes, "Oh, well, he's a good friend of ours. And I think I've seen your picture on his mantle or something, whatever." It's like, you just never know in Nashville who knows who.
People are very family oriented in this town, and there's a lot of attention to detail. I think you get that because of the amount of artists and intellects that are here. They call it the songwriter brain. You'll hear there's always something back here somewhere that if I hear something, I'm like, oh, that's good, and everybody's got that. And so being a visionary and kind of that level of I don't want to say dreamer, but I can't find a different word for it right now, of always trying to catch that next opportunity that you're essentially conjuring out of midair.
Right.
There's a level of vigilance across the board. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And you know what? I don't have a problem with dreamer. Dreamers are what, my background is a Craig Alexander photo. He's letting me use it. And, none of this would exist if it wasn't for dreamers, right? Nashville wouldn't exist. Music wouldn't exist if it wasn't for dreamers. So dreamers are important. I always hear from people that I really respect that have built huge empires, but have done it in such a way that they don't tread on people to get there. They lift people up. They always said, "I wish I'd dreamed bigger. If I dreamed bigger, I could have helped more people." Right? If I dreamed bigger, I could have helped more people. So, man, if your jam is helping people, if you're listening to this and you go, "I love helping people. That's what I live for." And most business owners, and you own a business, it's you, right? Most business owners want to help other people and are dreamers. They just need to dream bigger, right? That's the key. So you decide to start a music career. You sort of fell into it to help pay for college. What did you originally go to college for? Was it a finance degree?
So I wanted to do music. When I was in middle school, I was telling my friends, they said, "What do you want to be when you grow up?" I was like, "I'm going to be a country singer." So I've always known that's what I was going to do. But they're like my folks and my grandfather, I was going to tell my mom, "I'm not going to college. You can't make me. I'm out of here." And my granddad said, "No, you're going to college. You need to."
Right.
And that's why I went, because I really respect him. And he goes, "And if you're going to go to college, you want to learn how to make money.
Right.
So get a finance degree." And so I was like, okay. So I got my finance degree, and then I was like, well, I want to be music and I'm going to college and I got to pay for my half of college. How am I going to do it? And so I started playing gigs on the weekends, and it kind of set me up for the path I'm on right now. Yeah.
As a business owner, it can be tiring paying cash for everything you need. Well, there's a better way. Introducing Trade Bank of Nashville. Our bartering service lets you exchange goods and services without the need for cash transactions. Trade Bank helps businesses like yours reduce expenses, bring in new business, and keep your cash where you need it most. Find out more and join our barter network today. Start getting what you need without paying cash, because sometimes barter is just smarter. Apply today at nashville.tradebank.com.
How much time are you spending on the road right now out of 365 days, out of 1 year? What sort of time are you? Is it touring? Is that the right term?
That's what they call it, touring. And then there's tons of networking that goes in where like, it's just me and my manager, and we're out going to different conferences and different annual events and meetings and songwriting festivals and stuff where you've got to get in with the industry, but I would say with the combo of touring, out playing shows, and the networking, probably 8 or 9 months out of the year.
Wow.
Yeah.
And how do you well, number one, how do you stay healthy? How are you not eating all the crap food? Or is it just that at
willpower?
Okay. I was gonna say, you said you're at 26, was it? So
yeah,
at 26, you can eat some crap food for a while, but as a 56-year-old, it will catch up. I can tell you that.
I mean, I'm a huge advocate for working out. It keeps me level, so I'm hitting the gym. I've got a YMCA membership. They got them all over the country, right. So we go to those a lot. I'll be honest. I mean, things are tight, so we're hitting Sam's Club or Costco and loading up on groceries and bringing them to the Airbnb a lot, stuff like that. Especially when we're traveling the whole band, I definitely try to do more cooking and get things that if we have an Airbnb with an oven and a stove, I'm like, I'm not ordering out and taking you guys out to eat. We're getting groceries and making food.
Right. Yeah, and that makes sense. And we do the same. We have a coffee machine repair business in Wichita, and a staff of around 25 or 30. And when we go to like trade shows and stuff, we get the Airbnb. There's always food at the house, so we don't have to spend all of that money out. No. It just makes a huge difference, especially as you age. You learn how to cook things that you used to pay too much money for, right? Like, do you have a favorite food that you've learned how to cook on the road that you like better than paying for a restaurant?
Oh yeah. But before I say that, because I'm thinking of it, we have a song called Wichita.
Oh, really?
So, yeah, I'll have to send it to you.
Yeah.
So a big thing, just like, well, we got a bunch of big dudes in the band, so I've got to have a lot of meat.
Right.
We do the $5 rotisserie chickens from Costco. Those are a game changer.
Yeah.
And they also.
How many do you go through of those? How many do you go through?
My bass player can eat one in a day or two.
Yeah.
If I'm lifting, I'm trying to build muscle right now, so I'm eating a ton of protein.
Yeah.
I can buy 6 of them, and the band will eviscerate them.
Right.
Those I do. They've got during the holidays, like Sam's and Costco do those. They're really good, but they're super cheap hams. Boneless hams, and I bake those things. They love them. Get the take and baked potatoes, get a big thing of salad greens, and you're good, man. Thing of rolls.
So we used to do
$20.
Right. We used to do trading
card 5-pound ham.
Right, exactly. So we used to do trading card tournaments for Magic the Gathering trading card game and the Pokemon trading card game, and we'd have like 30 volunteers, and we would bring big pre-made pots of mac and cheese worked well. And any pasta based stuff with meat in it, like spaghetti and meatballs and stuff, and we would have a microwave or whatever. And so as the judges come off the floor from judging events, or the people helping, they could all sit back. And the one thing we wanted was, with our volunteers, was to never ever have them say, "Oh, I'm hungry. Can I get some money to go eat?" No, there is a big cooler full of all the pop, water, iced tea you can drink.
Yeah.
There's a microwave that we have set up, and there's all this food in the esky, just in individual bowls, just heated up. And man, it just saved us so much money. One time we were doing an event down in Dallas, and we had we had 780 people show up for an event that we were only meant to have 380. And it was stinking bloody hot in the middle of the summer. I went to Sam's Club and I bought enough ice cream sandwiches. I bought out all their ice cream sandwiches. I bought about 1,000 ice cream sandwiches and handed them out to every player and volunteer at the. Yeah, what was the one thing they remembered after that event? Even all the things we did right, all they remembered was their ice cream sandwich. Oh, we'll come to any of, so it doesn't take a lot, and food works, right? Food is a great way to do it. The thing that we've learned to cook, salmon. You can buy it cheap and you can cook it in 4 minutes aside. 4 minutes aside, a bit of salt and pepper, and you're done. And I'm paying $25 for that at the restaurant, and I'm paying like $5 for a decent piece of salmon. Now, this was maybe a year or two ago before COVID.
Well, yeah, but you can get the fillets of salmon, like the big, huge fillet of salmon. Yep. Yeah, exactly.
So really easy to cook. You should try it sometime. Just in the oven, salt and pepper, peel off the skin after 4 minutes on one
lemon.
side.
Oh, yeah.
You got it. So anyway, this ain't a cooking show. This ain't a cooking show, but folks.
Hey, man, but you can apply that to everything. Go to those big box stores. I mean, when the band wants energy drinks, I'm like, do not go into the gas station and spend $4 on a Monster. Right. Let me go down to Sam's and get a flat of them for $14 and we got 25 of them. What are you doing?
Yeah. You know what you could do? You could
train yourself to think that way.
Yeah, they don't. Well, it's my kid too. Like, we told him to keep a budget because he said, I don't have enough money. I'm like, you got enough money. You just waste it. He's like, no, I don't. I said, let's add up and write down. So I gave him a little notebook just to write down how much money he was spending every day on the way to work.
Yeah.
Right. He's spending $7 in the morning. He's spending $15 at lunch, and he's spending $20 on the way home.
Yep.
I said, you don't make that much in a day. You're spending more than you make.
Yeah.
So you got to be smarter. So I wonder if you could get some low-level sponsors, like individuals and stuff that do network marketing and have access to those protein drinks and energy drinks and stuff, and throw them on a T-shirt or something. Say, hey, our fans are sponsoring blah blah blah.
That's something we're looking for. I never thought of doing because if I had a protein shake company,
Because for them, it's a barter deal, right, Eli? And the matter is, it's costing them pennies on the dollar to supply you with their product. And you just go on Insta or TikTok or Facebook or something and just do a shout out. As you grow your business, that becomes more and more valuable to those brands. If you sent out 100 emails to 100 brands you liked, you'd hit someone.
Yeah.
So anyway, that's just a tip. Okay, so when you're not on the road 9 months of the year, what do you like to do around Nashville? We normally do a thing here we call hidden gems, and you've given me some hidden gems. Hopefully, you can remember these.
Oh, I got it.
So
I'm ready.
So tell me your first hidden gem that you like around Nashville.
If you're ever in Nashville, Tennessee, you go down on West End Avenue to the Local.
Okay.
It's right by Centennial Park. It is the cultivating ground. It is where all the artists and songwriters go to network. It's the spot. You never know who you're going to run into when you go in there.
It's a bar, I take it. A bar.
Yep, it's a bar and restaurant.
Okay.
You can go in there and there's #1 hit songwriters. There's guys that just got signed to Warner. There's guys with publishing deals. There's just everybody, all the executives go there. Everybody that's in the music industry at any level goes to the Local. It's the hub. It's just he's built it that way. Jeff Reed, the owner, he's really made it's been such an instrumental place in my career. I've met so many different people and stuff like that. I can't speak highly enough about the Local. Yeah.
Awesome. So our Local is always the local pub that Aussies go to, right? I'm going down the Local, so that's where that name sort of comes from too, for Americans, I'm sure. Okay. Give me another one.
Manel's at the Manor. It's an old 1800s plantation manor where if you're hungover or ready to, as my grandfather would say, strap the feed bag on, you go in there and they've renovated it to be, you sit down, it's a 15-seater table, and you're sitting with just other people,
Right.
and they just pass around. They've got award-winning fried chicken. It's all you can eat, and it's mom and pop style, just great food. Really fun spot. Highly recommend it. Right by the airport.
And that's Manel's at the Manor. Is there
Mhm.
more than one Manel's?
Yeah, there is. The Manor's the best one
Okay, got
by
it.
a long shot.
Awesome. And
Um,
then you got a third one here.
yep, the
The
Nashville, the Nashville Palace.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah. The Nashville Palace, yeah, I mean, it's the biggest dance floor in town, man.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Mhm. Yeah. All the biggest names. It's been around a really long time. You see pictures of like a young Randy Travis and George Jones and stuff up on the stage there when they were moving through town, when they were first starting out and stuff like that. And everybody in between, Garth Brooks, George Strait, Joe Diffie, Toby Keith, they've all played there. And yeah, it's just a hub for people who want to dance and hear good live music. So
Awesome. So, Eli, if people want to follow you or get to listen to some of your music, what's the best way for them to do that?
I like to say you can find us anywhere with internet in a search bar. Eli Alger and the Faster Horses. I was just going to name the band just the Faster Horses, but there's a giant festival in Michigan that's been around for 113 years now called the Faster Horses Festival. It's a giant country festival. You type in Faster Horses into anything, and these guys pop up for 5 pages. It's crazy. So Eli Alger and the Faster Horses were on YouTube, Google, Instagram, TikTok. Yeah, you can find us anywhere.
Okay, so let me ask you a business question.
Spotify, Apple Music.
Okay, yeah. Are you the one that does your social media, or is that your manager?
A little bit of both. I've got to be there to make it, but she's telling me what to do.
Yeah.
So there's a little bit of both. I'm always thinking, my head's always there going, what do we need to make? What do we need to post? And she's quality control and making sure I get it done on time, correctly, etc.
Right. Awesome. And so if you were pitching, if the perfect person for you was listening to this podcast or watching this video on LinkedIn, YouTube, Facebook, which is where I post them, what's your ask? Who could you be connected with that would change your trajectory, or what could somebody do for you that would change your trajectory?
It would either be somebody who would be willing to hear a proposal about being like an investor in a new country act, or it would be somebody in the music industry. I'm currently hunting for a publishing deal, and I think if we're not ready, we are almost ready for a record deal. So somebody who would be willing to hear me out, hear my material, sit down and see what I've got that's not produced yet, and look at our show and everything we've got going so far and evaluate us. And, if they think we're the right fit, walk us into Warner or Sony or Capitol. And if we're not there yet, I think it's a matter of time. So it would be one of those types. That's a tough question for me because there's so many different angles to how you can skin this cat, but it'd be somebody along those lines of those kind of 3 things.
Awesome. Hey, Eli, it's been a pleasure having you on the show. As you
Thank
continue
you for having me.
to grow, I'd love to have you come back and update us in 6 months or a year if you're up for it.
Absolutely. 100%. I'd love to.
Okay. Now, last question. What is something that you always wish you're asked about, but never get asked about?
I've never been asked that question before. Hold on. Give me like 15 seconds.
Yeah, because the idea is that there's a lot of times that, man, they never ask me about that part of that thing that I do that I love talking about,
Do you mean like somebody in like the industry, or like fans, like when they're asking me questions, or just anybody?
Anybody, if there should be something sort of percolating in your head right now. It's like, oh man, I love talking about this, but I never get asked about it.
Where did the inspiration for any of the songs come from?
Okay. So hang on. Eli, where does the inspiration for your songs come from?
Which one?
I don't know. Let's take Wichita.
Okay. So Wichita was a song that was originally the first version of it was shown to me by a friend of mine who's a magnificent songwriter, James Tristan Redding. And it's a song about, it really hit home for me because it was about divorce. And I'm from a divorced family, and it really painted a picture of the hurt and feeling in a very real and specific way, that how he had written it, how he had felt it, but he made it in such a personalized way that almost anybody could relate to. And he was gracious enough to let me sit with it and think of some, what about this here? What about that there? What are these? I've got this new idea for a bridge, etc. And essentially, once it's all been said, it was about a 2-year process, and now he's given me his blessing to record the song once it's time to get into the album. But yeah, the story behind Wichita is a very heavy one, and I'm very excited for people to hear it.
Okay, so I'm going to pick another one. What's your favorite song that you do?
A favorite original song that we do, or favorite?
I don't care. I want to know from you. You know, when I say what's your favorite song, is it one of your originals, or is it something you like to?
I have 2.
Okay, I'll give you some grace. You got time for 2.
Okay. Favorite original would probably be Dollars on the Wall. It's a song that I wrote about a joint in Melrose, Iowa. It's a old sheep barn from the 1900s that got turned into a honky-tonk in the 70s. Right. And my granddad had been bringing me in there. And they have dollars all over the walls, like just tacked everywhere when you walk in. And yeah, I wrote a song about that place. It's probably my favorite to do live. There's a lot of awesome musicianry going on in that song.
Right.
And then I'd have to say either Southern Voice by Tim McGraw or Wildfire by Michael Martin Murphey would be my second favorite song that we do live.
Awesome. Well, yeah. That is great. So folks, check out those songs. You can find them, I'm sure, on all your major platforms where you would find that sort of stuff. I'm partial to Spotify, but whatever your jam is, go for it. Eli, thanks again so much. I really appreciate you being on the show, and we'll let you know when this airs.
Absolutely. Looking forward to it.
This is the Nashville 2 podcast with your host, Edward Fox.